Sorry, Miss Austin, I forgot you don't like it when I tap on the mic. Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm Miss Barnes. Give it up for those 6th graders. Weren't they great? Okay. So I'm going to tell you the story of that entrance, because there's a story behind that, obviously. So in my class, we do this exercise, and it's called jamming. And it sounds exactly what it is. They make stuff up. So one day, they were on stage jamming, and all of a sudden, they started to march around in a circle. I did not tell them to do this, they just started doing it. And then, they marched off the stage, and up the stairs, and around the back, and I just stood there, watching, and then they said, Miss Barnes, can we do that in the concert? And I thought, yeah, I think Francis Parker has the insurance to cover that. Sure, guys, why not? So, it worked. So an additional word of explanation. What they did at the beginning, they were making up. Once they got to the stage, they were actually reading notes. So just like what you're about to see the band do at the end, they were doing the exact same thing. Bet you didn't know the drummers could do that. You can. So that's what we like to call student-centered learning. Speaking of student-centered learning, this year is the first year that I have some 8th graders in my cohort who I've had for all 3 years. So I'm pretty proud of them. They know a lot at this point. And I was kind of having some trouble finding a piece that was worthy of them. So I talked to them about it, and they said, well, Ms. Barnes, why don't we write our own pieces? And I thought, yeah, okay. That's either going to be a disaster, or it's going to be awesome. Well, you all know your kids very well, and as you can imagine, it was really awesome. So, unfortunately, we don't have enough time to play all of the pieces this evening. So to solve that problem, I combined my 7th and 8th grade groups, and I had them vote on which of the pieces that they would like to play. And the piece that was chosen is called Expo Marker, and it was written by Izzy Chalmers and Matthew Leibowitz, who are somewhere. Izzy and Matthew, wave to the people, if you can. That's right, yeah, give it up, give it up.